Hi YouTube, welcome to the Emerald Dream. The expansion is going live in 2 hours from now, and if you are watching this video, it means you are looking for some decks to try out during those early days or hours of the new expansion. I got you guys. I have a selection of decks you could try. I have to say big shout out to Vicious Syndicate for compiling this big list of decks to try on day one. I have picked my favorite deck for one for every class from their website, and I will talk you through them. Also, I have put a link to the Vicious Syndicate article. They have 45 decks on there for you. So if you want to see more decks, just go to their website. I have one for each class that I think is going to be very strong or fun to play. If you want something else, just go over to their website and take your pick. So first we are starting off with DK. Now, the DK, I don't know if you've played any Tavern Brawls or watched streamers play the Tavern Brawl, but the Leech package is really, really good for the DK and also very fun. If you, I don't know, if you watched my previous video, I went 6 wins a lot of times with the Suck package. So that's why I just had to include this one. I also included the Starship package for you because I think it's still very strong. It gives you a lot of value. If you don't want to play that, there's different lists out there without the Starship pieces, and you could just add like a Kill Jaden, for example, for some late game value instead. I'll tell you what Vicious Syndicate has to say about this deck. It says, Starship Death Knight's advantage over Attrition Blood decks is that it has a more proactive win condition that can pressure the opponent. The addition of the Leech package has pushed us to create a BBU build. The additional card draw makes the deck more consistent in growing our Starship to 10 attack, which is a pretty big deal, obviously. Morbid Swarm, Rite of Atrocity, and Orbital Moon is a strong package of 1-mana spells that we can use to activate Guiding Figure far more consistently than we could during Great Dark Beyond, which should help make up for the loss of Yelling Yodeler. This deck can switch to a UUB build, but it means losing Sanguine Infestation, Orbital Moon, and Corpse Explosion. Honestly, those are very good cards, so if you want to try it out, you can do it, but I prefer the BBU package just as a whole because it's better in my opinion. It's strong, it's very good. I tested it out for you in the Tavern Brawl. So if you're looking for a BBU Suck DK, all the codes, all the deck codes are in the description, but also you can go to the Vicious Syndicate website and just copy the code from there. Okay, so that was it for DK, my pick, BBU Suck DK. Next up, we got Demon Hunter. So don't be confused by the armor DK in the top there. It's probably just because the expansion isn't out, so the website didn't recognize this to be a Demon Hunter. Also, a very strong deck that we've seen in TRA crafting. Players like Jamber and some other streamers were playing something like this, and they could get so much armor. It was incredible. So what you want to do is you play the Arcanite Defense Crystal, and then you can keep resurrecting it with the cube, with the Fel Hunter, with the Fel Bat. So many ways to just keep resurrecting the 3/4 taunt. Probably fun to play, not fun to play against, but I am definitely gonna try it out. And let's see what the Vicious Syndicate says. It says, Demon Hunter's most promising direction in this expansion is an archetype that can generate an obscene amount of armor. Yes, it can. That could make Warrior look pale in comparison. This list builds around Arcanite Defense Crystal, Ravenous Fel Hunter, and Ferocious Fel Bat. A single curve of these 3 minions develops a total of 7 Arcanite Defense Crystals, which are worth 28 armor and 28 health in taunts, while adding the same number to our future Starship. These minions can be tutored by Tusk Piercer, which increases the consistency of this curve. Return Policy and Carnivorous Cubicle further increased the insane armor potential of the deck. On 8 mana, we can return Policy a ferocious Fel Bat and immediately eat a Fel Hunter with Cubicle. Yes, guys. So you can see this deck is going to generate so much armor, so many taunts as well that you need to get through. So maybe your best bet is to silence or hex the Arcanite crystals so they can't be resurrected the whole time. But obviously not every deck can do that. So we're probably gonna have to find a way to deal with that somehow anyway later on. But that's it for Demon Hunter. Again, deck code will be in the description or on the Vicious Syndicate website. Moving on, we have a Paladin. This is a deck I tried in the Tavern Brawl as well, something similar to this at least. So with the Imbue package of Paladin, you kind of want to ramp up your hero power, shuffling spells into your deck that summon a dragon of the same cost as how many times you've imbued your hero power. Very strong, very fun also because the dragon package is always fun to play with. I'm gonna tell you what Vicious Syndicate has to say about this as well. So I went for a greedier imbue paladin list. You can maybe go a bit faster as well, but I like the greed. I like the slower games lately. So this is what Vicious Syndicate says. Imbue Paladin looks like a well-rounded archetype. It has the most efficient imbue cards. It can pressure through the board with a seemingly never-ending density of threats in the late game, while possessing significant burst damage that can kill opponents by turns 8 to 10. The archetype has multiple impactful dragons, which makes Gift Wrap Whelp a powerful one-drop. On top of Gold Petal Drake and Dream Warden, Illusory Greenwing looks like a perfect fit. Greenwing can enable a Dream Warden blowout, which is difficult to execute through Emerald portals early in the game. If we do not hero power before Greenwing dies, Dream Warden is guaranteed to pull an illusion, representing a 5/6 taunt, a 4/5 taunt, and a drawn card for 4 mana. That is insane on turn 4 with the coin, or on turn 5. So you see, this deck has a really big potential of some big tempo swings. Also, in the late game, you can just keep pressing your hero power, keep getting those dragons into your deck, and eventually maybe opponent will run out of resources to actually properly deal with it. All right, that was it for Paladin. Moving on to Druid, another imbue deck. So we have a lot of smaller spells. We obviously included the Sing-Along Buddy because once your hero power is imbued a little bit and you play the Sing-Along Buddy, it triggers twice, summoning really, really big minions. Okay, so Druid, Nature Imbue Druid. Hamul gives Imbue Druid the highest ceiling when it comes to imbuing, as it turns every 2 spells into a full imbue. This encourages us to run a build with high spell generation, as spells we generate can trigger imbue, even if they are not nature spells. The only restriction is that every spell in our original deck must be nature. So that's what you want to keep in mind if you want to like alter the deck a little bit. If you go for something like this, make sure your spells are nature. Tide pools and photosynthesis are high priority spell generators. Symbiosis and Horn of Plenty are 2 spells in 1 card, so they are worth a full imbue each. Reforestation is slow, but while card generation in the deck is abundant, card draw is scarce. The Ring Server is another option if we are looking for spell generators. Sing-Along Buddy very important in the deck as it is the only card that allows us to develop 2 plant golems in 1 turn. Dreambound Disciple helps us click the hero power more often. Mark of the Wild lets us taunt up a big golem, which otherwise does not protect us. Ceaseless Expanse and Malorn offer us late game board swings, which the deck lacks. Our own Ceaseless Expanse will often be the best answer to opponents' Ceaseless Expanse. Okay, so maybe you want to keep in mind that if possible, you keep your own Ceaseless Expanse in your hand until your opponent already played theirs. Otherwise, there might not be a good way to deal with like the board swings and all that. I think this deck has some real potential. I've seen it a little bit in theory crafting. I died to it a few times. The plant golems can get quite big if you imbue a lot, and if you, especially with Sing-Along Buddy, sometimes the stats on the board can get a bit out of control quite early on. So I would say if you like the old Jade stuff, the old Jade package, maybe this is something for you as well, because it feels quite similar. You ramp up your golems and just try to get like bigger stats on the board every turn. All right, so that was it for Druid. Let's move on to Hunter. So I picked a hand buff Hunter with the Brawl because I just think it's a really fun card. I don't know, I haven't tested it myself yet, but I think it's definitely promising. And Let me tell you what the Vicious Syndicate people say about this. It says, Brawl Handbuff Hunter might be the most fun experiment you can find in the class. Here we attempt to leverage the subtle synergy between Mythical Rune Bear and Brawl Bear Mantle. So you see there's a lot of bears in this deck, which obviously me as the baby bear had to go for. So why do these cards have synergy? Because both can thrive in the same spell-heavy shell. Handbuff Hunter with Zerglings is dead, but we are replacing Zerglings with Mythical Rune Bear. Rune Bear might be slower, but it still represents an incredible hand buff payoff. One that works extremely well in the same Warrior Tourist shell that runs Cup of Muscle, Reserved Spot, and Birdwatching. Brawl also works well in the shell because it requires a lot of cheap spells to turn into a legitimate win condition. While discounting it with Reserved Spot sounds incredible, Cash Cow generates coins to help leverage Brawl as well. So when you play the Cash Cow, you usually get at least 1 or 2 coins. Save them for the Brawl, and then you can like combo it a little bit and summon animal companions. And hopefully they will all be Huffers that go face. So the concept is that Rune Bear wins against faster decks while Brawl beats slower decks. Just remember never to draw that pesky Ranger Gilly. Yes, that's the same always. You don't want to draw the Gilly, just leave that in your deck. Okay, that was it for Hunter. Next up, we have Mage. So Mage also has an Imbue package. That's what we went for. They have this package of Wisps as well. And in this list, we included Rayla for some extra tempo board swings. And that is because Vicious Syndicate said this was a pretty good package deal. So they have to say, our subjective opinion is that Mage has the most evocative Imbue package. It can go in many different directions due to its versatility. It's both a source of board control and a source of off-board damage. It does help that Mage has a couple of tourists that can spice things up for the class. The featured Rayla build tries to leverage Wisps as a serious board-based threat, with Busybot looking like an enticing way to buff them. Rayla offers a secondary board-based win condition along with the drink spells. Vacation Planning provides extra reload alongside Divination. We believe that it is stronger than Grillmaster due to Busybot and helps us fuel both Ceaseless Expanse and Asena. This deck has the capability to pressure early, but still possesses the potential to pivot to late game with Ceaseless Expanse helping us set up either Asena or Sing-Along Buddy, Wisp Rider, Imbued Hero Power in this order. So you can see this Mage build has like a few different ways of winning. You can go early with the Rayla, try to build a big board and opponents might not deal with it. Or in the late game, you can set up a combo and try to kill your opponents that way. So if you like versatility, I think this Mage might be a good pick for you. All right, moving on to Warlock. I picked a Wheellock for you guys because I just really like that archetype. And because a lot of the decks look like they're kind of slow or like a bit greedy or slower to set up, I think the Wheel might be a good fit to try and counter those slower decks a little bit. And let's see, a Warlock. Where is Warlock? Here. Okay. So I went for Wheel. The upcoming format does represent promise for a lot of defensive decks. There is a world in which Wallow simply does not deal enough damage. In this case, there is no win condition more punishing for armor stacking attrition decks than Wheel of Death, which is why I picked it. In this deck, ramp is so good that we are even willing to run the underwhelming Tranquil Treant. Whatever gets us to 8 mana as quickly as possible is a good thing. On 5 mana, we have both Sleep Paralysis and Ancient of Yore for maximum stalling. Wheel of Death does some good enablers in this set. Most notably is Shaladrassel, which gets corrupted by the wheel and gives us 2 life-saving spells in Corrupted Dream and Corrupted Awakening. A corrupted Shaladrassel can also be cast for free along with Agamagon. On 12 mana, thanks to help from Izera, we can play Agamagon, Shaladrassel, Awakening in 1 turn, which deals a hilarious 12 damage to the enemy hero. Meadow Strider should be a better anti-fatigue card post-wheel compared to Kil'jaeden, as we can only care about surviving. If our opponent must punch through multiple 1-mana Meadow Striders, it's game-changing. Fey Trickster is a nice tutor in this deck, able to find either removal or win conditions in wheel/shallow Dressel. So you see, this deck is either just kind of here to punish the slower decks. Imagine you're facing like that armor demon hunter I talked about earlier. They're gonna get so much armor, it's gonna be impossible to deal with all the armor and kill them. So wheel might be your best pick to try and counter that deck, as they're not super pressuring you, but kind of just gaining infinite armor, and the wheel doesn't care about the armor. So that might be actually a decent counter pick for it. All right, so next we're going to Priest. I know a lot of you have been waiting for a good control Priest, and that is exactly what I went for here. We went for a slower type Priest with the control imbue package. So Priest has an exciting set that finally leans into late game strategies. There you go, guys. There are many different directions that Control Priest can take depending on what the format requires of it. The featured build maximizes the imbue package to gain significant mana and resource advantages in the late game. Since the imbue hero power represents infinite value, we keep the curve low to the ground to contest aggressive decks, trusting that we will find mass removal and threats when we need them late. Parrot Sanctuary works well with the imbue package since we have 2 imbue minions that cost 4 mana. A turn 3 Flutterwing Guardian will be strong. One small package that we expect will be popular in Priest decks will be Illusory Greenwing and Scale Replica. When Greenwing dies, Scale Replica can tutor us the illusions, turning it into a draw engine that also develops 4/5 taunts. Should Tortola become a popular threat, Priest can add Gravity Lapse to the deck, which works well with Calderai Priestess. Once we reach late game and significantly upgrade our hero power, we get to generate and play an extra card every turn for free. With Sing-Along Buddy, we can swing the game even harder. This deck can grind forever. Guys, I know you love these really long games, and this Priest, I promise, it will deliver. So if you like that, if you want to go to fatigue, if you want the grindy games, this Priest deck is for you. And I have another control deck in the Warrior. So I figured this meta is maybe gonna be a little bit slow. So I thought to include a few of the control decks, and later on I will show you some of the faster decks as well. But for now, Dragon Control Warrior is it includes the chemical spill Tortola, so that's quite scary. The combo is expected to be very popular in all Control Warrior builds at the launch of the expansion. We will see just how meta warping it can be, or whether opponents will be able to adjust to it. The biggest drawback of Spill Tortola builds is that we need to give up Ceaseless Expanse. That is true, because the Spill, it will summon the highest cost card in your deck, in your hand, right? So if you draw Ceaseless early, that's gonna be the highest card because it costs 100 mana at start, and Tortola is cheaper than that. So no Ceaseless, but an early Tortola maybe will win you the game anyway if your opponent cannot answer it. So the prospect of new heights into Spill Tortola is daunting. Silence the Turtle and Carnivorous Cubicle eats it, and the game feels impossible. We must be able to kill a 225 taunt with Elusive. This is a nightmare for aggressive decks. Again, if you just don't damage the Tortola ever and you go for something like Wheel Warlock, that is something that might counter. So again, we do have a way of dealing with it, but the aggro decks might struggle if this deck becomes popular. But if you like high rolly games, I think this one with the Chemical Spill and Tortola is for you. So go and try it out. Okay, next we have Shaman, another imbue class. I have not tested it myself yet, but I saw some people trying it out in the Tavern Brawl and in Theory Crafting, and it looked quite fun because of the imbue package. So what we went for is a Hagatha imbue Shaman. And Vicious Syndicate says the key to a successful imbue Shaman should be a minion dense build that offers constant evolve targets. Shaman's card draw is not great, so we value strong discover cards like Creature of Madness and Birdwatching. The best card draw the deck has access to is Hagatha and Fairy Tale Forest, so we want to include those cards to at least get some draw out. Pirate Sanctuary should be mandatory as it helps smooth out our curve with a heavy 4-mana sloth and deck filled with Battlecry minions. Our late game is solid thanks to Shutter Block. We can triple an imbue card and accelerate our evolve ability. We can triple Malorn, which represents the best value in our deck. So if you like evolving stuff, I think this is the deck for you. I always really enjoy that because it adds a little bit of random to the game, which I really like. So there's the Shaman for you. And then last but not least, we have a Bounce Rogue. So we've covered a lot of slower, greedier decks and how to counter them. Now we have time for some actual fast games with the Rogue. Of course, it's the Rogue delivers. And what you want to do with this is kind of just tempo out a lot of early, smaller minions, swarm the board, and then go for that early lethal. So Aggro Combo Rogue is one of the early frontrunners of the format. Paired with its strong board control tools, Rogue is getting massive early blowout potential through Harbinger of the Blighted and Web of Deception. We can do some crazy turns as early as turn 2 that summon multiple bodies that opponents have no chance of dealing with at this stage of the game. The addition of Foxy Fraud and Wagglepick to the core set, as well as the buff to SI7 Agent, further enhance Rogue's early game strength and potential aggression. Wagglepick, Dread Corsair, is an old pairing that was utilized by the dominant Lackey Rogue from Rise of Shadows. I think Jabber will be very happy to see that again because that is like one of his signature cards, the Dread Corsair, so shout out to Jabber for that one. The deck's card draw is obscene for an aggro deck. Raiding Party helps us find Wagglepick and Dread Corsair. Twisted Webweaver can chain draw as we load the board or bounce minions. Dubious Purchase is enabled by Prep, Foxy Fraud, and Space Rogue Collector, making it a significantly stronger card. So there you have it, guys. If you want to just have a really big early tempo on the board, this is the Rogue for you. The game should finish early on. If opponents can't deal with it, you might even be able to close games before the chemical spell if you face a warrior or before the priest gets to all their board clears. So if you want to go really fast on the ladder, try this Bounce Rogue. And I think we've actually covered all of the decks right now. I hope there is something out there for you that you really want to try. Let me know what your day one deck is going to be. Again, big shout out to Vicious Syndicate for preparing all these lists for us to choose from on day one, making it so much easier to try some stuff out if you are not the greatest deck builder out there like myself. And thanks for watching, everyone, and I will see you again in the Emerald Dream. Bye!